Ever wondered what sparked a massive conflict that changed the Middle East? Discover how the invasion of Kuwait ignited one of the largest military alliances since World War II and what it meant for the future. The Gulf War marked a significant turning point in international relations, particularly in the Middle East. It began with Iraq's invasion of Kuwait on August 2, 1990, a move that shocked the world and drew immediate condemnation. Under the leadership of President Saddam Hussein, Iraq aimed to expand its influence by invading Kuwait, citing economic grievances linked to oil production. Tensions had been brewing for years, stemming from disputes over oil prices and debts incurred during the Iran-Iraq War. Saddam's government accused Kuwait of exceeding its OPEC oil production quotas and slant drilling into Iraqi oil fields. These claims, combined with Iraq's staggering debt to Kuwait, set the stage for the invasion. After the invasion, the international community reacted swiftly. The United Nations Security Council adopted Resolution 660, demanding Iraq's immediate withdrawal from Kuwait, followed by economic sanctions against Iraq. As pressure mounted, U.S. President George H.W. Bush formed a coalition of 42 nations to confront Iraq's aggression. The buildup of troops in Saudi Arabia began, marking the onset of Operation Desert Shield. By January 1991, tensions were at an all-time high as the deadline for Iraq to withdraw approached. The world awaited the results of the UN's ultimatum. The lead-up to the Gulf War was a tense period marked by diplomatic and military maneuvers. Following Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, talks attempted to avert war, but Iraq remained defiant, dismissing international pressure. The United Nations Security Council passed multiple resolutions condemning Iraq's actions and demanding its withdrawal. These resolutions rallied support from countries around the globe, forming a coalition that would soon take military action. By late 1990, coalition forces led by the United States began to gather in Saudi Arabia to deter further Iraqi aggression. This large-scale military buildup, known as Operation Desert Shield, included hundreds of thousands of troops, aircraft, and equipment. International diplomacy continued, with the United States urging other nations to take a stand against Iraq. Fearful of the consequences of Iraq's expansionism, various countries sent troops, marking one of the largest military alliances since World War II. The ultimatum issued by the United Nations gave Iraq until January 15, 1991 to fully withdraw from Kuwait. As the deadline approached, military planning intensified on both sides, with coalition forces preparing for a potential ground invasion. Despite ongoing efforts for a peaceful resolution, Iraq continued to ignore the UN's demands and strengthened its military presence in Kuwait. This led to rising anxieties about an impending conflict as coalition forces readied for action. The event began on February 24, 1991, as coalition forces launched a ground offensive against Iraqi troops in Kuwait, marking the start of Operation Desert Storm. This military campaign was designed to liberate Kuwait from its 7-month occupation by Iraq. As the ground war commenced, coalition forces quickly overwhelmed Iraqi defenses with speed and coordinated attacks. The military's strategy involved a combination of aerial bombardments prior to the ground offensive, which had already weakened the Iraqi forces significantly. Within the first few hours of the ground offensive, coalition forces pushed deep into Kuwait, facing sporadic resistance from Iraqi troops. The coalition was surprised at how poorly prepared many of the Iraqi forces were, leading to a swift advance. In the subsequent days, intense battles unfolded, including significant tank confrontations at major locations such as Medina Ridge and the Battle of 73 Easting. These tank battles are considered some of the largest and most decisive in American military history. Coalition forces operated in a highly coordinated effort, utilizing superior technology and strategy to outmaneuver the enemy. Air support played a crucial role, with precision-guided munitions targeting key Iraqi positions, leading to significant losses for Iraqi forces. The 100-hour ground campaign culminated successfully with the liberation of Kuwait, as coalition troops swiftly neutralized Iraqi defenses. By the time this phase of the war came to an end, the coalition had driven over 240 kilometers into Iraq, resulting in a significant impact on international relations. The aftermath of the Gulf War was both immediate and far-reaching, impacting the countries involved, as well as international relations. After the successful ground campaign that ended on February 28, 1991, Kuwait was liberated, and celebration erupted across the nation. The swift effect of coalition military action helped restore the Emir of Kuwait to power, prompting widespread joy among the citizens. While many rejoiced in Kuwait, the conflict left enduring scars on Iraq. The war had devastating effects on the country's infrastructure and economy, with estimates suggesting that anywhere between 20,000 to 50,000 Iraqi soldiers lost their lives. The destruction created a humanitarian crisis that would escalate in subsequent years. Following the liberation, a harsh regime of sanctions against Iraq was imposed by the international community. The sanctions aimed to ensure that Iraq would not threaten its neighbors again, but contributed to widespread suffering, including shortages of food and medical supplies. Kuwait, on the other hand, faced the challenge of rebuilding both physically and emotionally. The war led to the loss of more than 1,000 Kuwaiti civilians, with significant numbers still missing, leading to a national effort to honor those who perished and to find missing individuals. Regionally, the conflict shifted power dynamics and alliances in the Middle East. Countries across the region began reassessing their foreign policies in light of the US-led intervention and the reality of sustained military presence in Saudi Arabia that followed the war. In the long term, the Gulf War set the stage for further conflicts in Iraq. Dissatisfaction among the Kurdish and Shia populations fueled uprisings, only to be crushed with brutal force by Saddam Hussein's government, resulting in even more loss of life and humanitarian crises.